Welcome, everyone. Welcome to this AMA Foundation live stream. My name is Kelsey Walker, and I am the Foundation Director. Thank you for tuning in. We're really excited to hear today from the Capital Area Radio Drone Squadron. But first, I'd like to introduce Austin Purley, who is my colleague in the Foundation. He is owner and program specialist. And we're also joined by Chad Boudreau, who is the Executive Director for AMA. Thank you both for being here.
Of course.
So we're going to be talking to the Cards Club today, and they will join us here shortly. But first, I just wanted to talk about TAG. They are a 2020 TAG recipient, which stands for Take Off and Grow. And we at the Foundation raise money for grants like this, for TAG grants, for flying site improvement grants. And we are really excited to hear from this club today because we really want to show our members and our donors what happens when you give to the Foundation, to really hear stories and to see the impact that you make. So I'd also like to have Kyle Jarris, who is the AMA Education Director, join us. And he's going to tell us a little bit about what TAG, Take Off and Grow is and what's the concept behind that program.
Yeah, well, Kelsey, you summarized it really well to start out with. It's really an opportunity for the membership to get involved in giving some donation, a little bit of a helping hand to itself, really, to its own members through the AMA Foundation. And I can't say enough how wonderful this grant is. It brings model aviation, the knowledge of, the excitement about what model aviation is to communities across the country. And we do that through our clubs. And so hats off to the clubs for stepping up and making things happen. And we, as an organization, are just excited to come alongside and help out in any way we can. And through this, these TAG grants, it's a great way for us to do so.
Yeah, thank you. Austin, you manage this grant, so Austin will accept applications. He organizes them for review. Is there anything you can tell us about how clubs could maybe take advantage of this grant program?
Yeah, so this one is actually pretty easy, pretty simple when it comes to applying. There's only like a couple of things that your club has to whatever the word is. But you have to be an AMA chartered club, and you also have to be hosting an event or have some sort of plan that's going to educate and promote your community about model aviation. And as long as you are those two things, you are qualified. That's the word I've been looking for, qualified. You qualify for this grant. And it's paper, so you can find it online. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me at austinp@modelaircraft.org. Like I said, it's pretty simple, but there's my contact information if you need it.
Oh, great. You know, I think when we think of AMA, we often think of maybe this building here in Muncie, Indiana, or the flying site or the museum. But really, AMA, the heart and soul of AMA is our members and those who are watching and our special interest groups. And it's embodied by our clubs, whether you're on the East Coast in Holly Springs or you're in San Diego at Torrey Pines, or today we're going to talk to a club in Lansing, Michigan. And that really is where our heart and soul is. It's with our members and clubs. And I think you may have noticed over the past year or two, our communication shifting a little bit, where we're bringing on more club members and members in general to not just talk about what they're doing within AMA, but what they're doing for the hobby as a whole. And it's exciting, as Kelsey mentioned, to bring on Cards, the Capital Area Radio Drone Squadron. And we have two members from Cards today. One is the outgoing president, Mike Pollock. The other one is Dave Marks. And Cards has been around, as I understand, for 50 years. And Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you mentioned you've been part of the club for 40 years. Cards is a great club. They're a gold level club. They have a great, beautiful runway. They fly all sorts of models, from sailplane to warbirds to fixed wing trainers. They're also very active in their community, and that's why we want to bring them on board, is to talk about what they do within their community and why they're so successful. And that's why we have Austin and Kelsey on as well, is to talk about what AMA and the AMA Foundation is doing to help clubs like Cards continue reaching out to their community and continuing to grow. So Mike, Dave, thanks for coming on board. It's glad to have you on our show.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we're so happy for you to be here. So maybe you can start us out by just telling us a little bit more about your club, what you all have done in the past to promote the hobby in your community. I understand this is your 50th year, so maybe tell us a little bit more about you guys.
Yes, this is our 50th year, and yes, Chad, you are correct. I've been in the club for 40 years, and I look every year of it. Actually, our club was one of the very first to do a giant scale event way back in 1985. It was a very successful event. It was so big, we had to hold it at the Michigan Trap Shooters Association's field. And if you've ever landed on a runway full of busted skeet, it's a real treat. We've done a number of community events over the years. We have a student night every Tuesday night during warm weather, of course, being a northern club. You come out to the field. We don't charge for lessons. You just show up. We give you an instructor. And the only thing we ask is that after a month or so, if you really like the hobby, quit using our club trainer and buy your own. We have usually 3 events per year. We have a Warbirds event. We have it used to be a giant scale event, and it's recently been changed over to a World War I kind of event, ACES. Yeah, I know, Joe, I'm slaughtering this.
I think
we also do an electric event. We participate in community activities. The nearest local community to us is a cute little town called Grand Ledge. They have a summer event every year they call Yankee Doodle Days. We're often a participant in that. And we use that to funnel visitors from their event down to ours afterwards.
And that's really a great way to do it, to find local events that are happening, partner with them, and make both events better because of that involvement. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's pretty much us in a nutshell, I guess. Like Chad was saying, we fly just about everything. You come out to the field any weekend, you'll see all kinds of things flying.
Yeah, I was going to say we're hearing from an audience member, Mean Joe, best field in the state by far.
Yeah, you have a large flying field too. It's one of the larger runways. It's a beautiful field.
Yeah, it's 1,000 feet long. The east-west runway is 1,000 feet, and I believe it's 180 feet across, if I remember correctly. There's also a smaller north-south field. Normally the helicopters and the small airplanes and the drones fly in north-south.
Nice. So how did you hear about the TAG grant? What was the impetus for applying?
That's an interesting question. So I actually completed the application for this, the 2020 year that we were awarded. But as a club, we've participated in TAG for a number of years. I don't really know the total history, but I know we've been recipient of a grant in the past, and we kind of have it on because it is very helpful to help support some of those activities. We have it in kind of our club officers list to remind us to apply for it every year.
Oh, that's a smart thing to do.
Yeah.
Good trick there. So from my understanding, you partnered with a local chapter a local EAA chapter, right, Young Eagles chapter, and worked with some of their youth. Can you tell us more about how that partnership started, what you were able to accomplish this year?
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Okay, so this past fall, and I don't remember the exact timing, but there was a communication that was sent out by the AMA, which was announcing kind of a collaborative effort between the EAA, AMA, and Horizon Hobby. And it was designed to get the youth or young members that are participating in the EAA kind of interested in aviation, and perhaps suggest that they use a remote control avenue as a way to progress some of what they were doing, because it's very expensive for them to study to be a pilot.
Sure.
In our case, we reached out to the Mason chapter of the EAA. So Mason's a very close by community. We are aware of them because we have worked with them some in the past, but it had been a while. And lo and behold, very quickly, we were connected with their youth program. So they had already a pretty, at least well-established one for this current time. And we were able to kind of jump right in and partner with them.
That's fantastic. And we're seeing some photos that your club shared of what went on this summer. What's happening in this video?
That's one of the our more experienced pilots flying kind of a very large scale plane, and he gets an Edge 540, and he's pretty good at doing a variety of 3D type maneuvers. And so we did that. We kind of included this as a demonstration for the EAA teams while they were there at our field.
Wow. I'm sure that was a treat for them.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, looking back, what do you hope that these young pilots learned? What do you hope they take away from this experience that they had?
Well, the interesting thing about teaching these EAA kids, we didn't have to teach them much. They already knew quite a bit. First of all, since they are the children of pilots, they themselves have a sort of natural affinity, I guess, for flying. In fact, one of the students, I didn't see him in any of the pictures that rolled by, but one of the pictures, or one of the students one of the EAA kids has already earned his general aviation pilot's license.
Wow. And
so you talk to these kids and almost all of them will tell you they're all interested in some sort of career in aviation. A lot of them want to be airline pilots, or they want to do airframe and power plant, or any number of things. So the really great thing about having these kids around is, they're already very, very interested in the topic, and they're eager to soak up anything you teach them. So yeah, they're great students. Two of them, when we finally got their airplanes built and we were actually able to fly, two of them, man, they took right to them. They were all over the sky. We already had our first crash.
Well, it's really, as someone who works to raise money for programs like this, it touches my heart to hear these experiences and to hear what you're doing in your community. I imagine that this is something that group of kids, they are always going to remember the time that your club took to work with them, and they're going to carry that forward with them. And I hope that you can stay in touch with them and see what they do and what they accomplish. Are you guys planning on working with them again, or has any of them joined your club or anything like that?
Well,
nobody specifically has joined the club. We've kind of put that there for them if they are interested. I mean, we certainly are planning at the moment anyways to continue some efforts. We don't really know near term exactly how to expect things will roll out, because this winter, as it currently is looking, things will be fairly shut down in terms of that type of group activity. But fortunately, one of the keys on the EAA side is they have a person that's in charge of their youth group, and Jeff seems very interested and passionate about continuing to work with it. So that's a good thing, and that's probably a key to being able to do it with them.
Sure. Yeah. That was a question I was going to ask. What plans does your club have in the future for tag programming, or any kind of community outreach? Anything in the works?
Well, there is something in the works. The problem is the pandemic is really keeping everything up in the air. Last year we had made plans. We've done a thing we call Community Model Aviation Day in the past, and that's basically one day a year when we open up the field to the public, and we have a number of trainers on the field and instructors, and we invite everybody, kids of all ages, as we like to put it, to come out and try flying an airplane. And of course, we couldn't do that this past year. But we are continuing. We keep that kind of like on the back burner at all times. That's something we want to do, and we're thinking next year, we're going to kind of make it. We're going to kind of link it to the events that we do, so that when you come to the event, we'll give you a little flyer or a card or something that'll basically say, okay, next Tuesday, come on out to the field and try flying an airplane yourself. And I've seen kids come out, and kids absolutely love doing it. And then, dads see it, dads want to try it, and I've even had a few moms try it. So, yeah, that's basically what we're going to be doing next, I think.
That's great. I love it.
Unless my board gives me more ideas.
I think I interrupted you, Chad. Were you going to say something?
No, I think it's a great idea to invite people back to the flying field. Maybe they come and they see an event or an air show and say, hey, why don't you try your hand at the sticks, whether through a simulator or through a trainer. I'd like to throw a question your way, because we're talking about all the great stuff CARDS is doing. We talked about its beautiful flying field and how it's partnering with EAA chapters and how it's in the backyard of Lansing, a major metro. But I suspect there's probably some club officers watching who are saying, well, our club's only a couple years old, or, we only have a grass runway. And I don't know if we can achieve that stuff. Any tips you would give those clubs who may be thinking about applying for an AMA Foundation tag grant, since you've been the recipient? Anything you'd recommend that those clubs consider, or tips? I think Mike gave a good tip about just making it part of the schedule. Put it on the calendar so you don't forget about it. But any other tips to help other clubs kind of latch on to your ideas of growing and engaging in the community?
I think the way to really start is to actually do what like we did in the very beginning. Like I said, I've been in the club since 1980, and we've had student night as long as I can remember. In fact, that's how I learned, was coming out to student night. And so, yeah, it's not as bad as it used to be in terms of, the cost of airplanes. So yeah, just invest in a little trainer. It doesn't even have to be, expensive, and just start having a student night. Just tell people, if you want to try flying, come on out, use our trainer. We'll teach you. And that's usually the way to snag them. I think just about everybody in the club has come up that way.
I love how you guys are too. You're putting a name and a time and a date on that card for these people to know that you're going to be able to call this number or show up at this time, and someone will be there to help them. That's so important, to give people those resources, or to have those resources available. And it's really a wonderful way to get people into it, because it's one thing to see these awesome 3D aerobatics or sailplanes, the Grace, the control line, whatever it is. There's a piece in this hobby for everybody, right? And whatever it is that excites them, link them to people. And you've got the benefit of having done it for so long that you've built that up as part of your club ethos. Like that's just like the norm, the Tuesday night learning. And that's something that's invaluable as you move forward, to keep that tradition alive and to keep inspiring that inspiration of inspiring for future students and families in your area.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just going out and doing it is really just the key.
Yeah, and every club has that guy that's maybe overly gregarious, wants to be, jump in and say hi, shake everybody's hand, say hi. In COVID, elbows, whatever it is. Equip that person, give them a mission. Say, you know what, you are the smiliest person I know. You're going to be the one that greets people. Now, you might not be able to fly very well, so we'll pair you with someone who can. But whatever it is, you find people's skill sets and you build on those. And that applies to every club.
Absolutely.
I think a tip I would like to offer too, that kind of to extend or expand on what Dave said, is we find in anything that we do that's promoting kind of the remote control and flying, as well as our club, is that it's sometimes hard to judge what the result has been. So in other words, you do something and maybe you feel like you didn't get a lot of success with it. And one is just to keep at it and to try lots of things, because in today's world, there's lots of activities that people and families are involved with. And just have some level of confidence that if you keep trying different approaches, some of them will have some success. And then if you can, determine which are the best, then kind of stick with those. But you may find you need to do multiple things.
Yeah. And I think giving that follow-up of that card or that indicator that says, hey, if you enjoyed this, call us up, we'll set up a time, or there's a time scheduled for you to come back. And always follow up with the next piece. You're throwing breadcrumbs ahead of where you're traveling so people know where to go to and then can look back and see where they've been as well.
The other thing that I've seen is that, like we've been doing this for so long, we have a lot of families come back again and again and again and again. Mm-hmm. And I've already heard from some people saying, we so missed seeing your events last year. We hope you're out next year. So that's the other thing, is just being out there for the community.
We have quite a few questions coming in, but Neil on YouTube asked, how did you use your grant money this year to promote learning to fly RC? And we talked a little bit about that, but do you mind getting maybe a little granular and saying, hey, we used it to maybe buy food, and I know 2020 was kind of an odd year, but or maybe used it to buy cards, or maybe used it to buy a trainer. How, when you received that grant money, what was it intended for, and how did you actually spend it?
You want to handle that, Mike?
Sure. Well, this year we had, because we actually, as we applied for the grant, we had specific sites on doing some things with some trainer equipment. And ironically, it turned out that was better than what we've designated some in the past, just under the circumstances. So we actually now have in our possession a second trainer plane that's owned by the club. We actually were desiring to get one that's of a larger size, because as we sometimes have found, we get older people that come out to our club to try to learn. Whether it's at a model aviation day or even to join the club, and having a larger plane that you can see easier and kind of see orientation kind of becomes pretty important when you're learning. And then to upgrade some of our radio equipment so that we have something that is easily used by all of the instructors. But in years past, we've done things like food, it's like if we had an event where we were feeding people, and so part of the event was, hey, come out and learn to fly and you get a free lunch. We've also used for other media to try to promote it, whether it be in the local community and that. So you can, and we submitted the application for the grant that way. And then spend our money that way, where we purchased like the handout card that you were talking about a little earlier. we use some of the funds sometimes for doing that type of thing. So like in this future year or two, if we are fortunate enough to get another grant, it may be more for promotional type expenses.
Sure. And we had a comment come in from the youth group director of EAA.
Yes.
A really nice comment about you guys. And we have another comment that I'm assuming a past TAG grant recipient, they purchased 2 Aero Scouts with the grant money, each with buddy boxes. So these are just some ideas for how you can, even the very items that you need to teach and promote the hobby are all acceptable and eligible under the grant program, including feeding people. And that's a good way to get people out to the club. If you're gonna give them
people love free food.
Yeah. So I wanted to, if anybody else in our live audience would like to drop some comments in, we'd love to answer any of that. And just this last question that I have for you guys, Mike and Dave, what did this grant mean for your club, having access to that? I mean, what is it going to, you've spoke about this before, but if you could say something to other members or to donors who donated to the foundation, what would you say to them? What does this mean to you?
Well, in our case, part of it meant that we were able to enhance the training equipment we already had. And it also allowed us to replace some of the older equipment that simply had worn out. For us, it allowed us to extend the training budget that we normally have year to year. It gave us a few extra bucks. It gave us a little extra spending money. It gave us a little more room to maneuver. It gave us an opportunity to upgrade our equipment and to give anyone who showed up to use the equipment a better flying experience. So it just helped us be a better club.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So we want to end this live stream or move towards ending it by encouraging you, everyone who's in our live audience. If you care about promoting the hobby in your community, if you care about connecting families, connecting friends, teaching youth that a STEM career is in their it's in their sights, we really encourage you to donate to the AMA Foundation. When you donate to our club support fund in particular, you support club grants like TAG. There are other things that you can get involved with when you donate to the foundation. You support the National Model Aviation Museum. You support the International Air Modeling Center making and maintaining improvements. You support our education department. We have a lot of fantastic educational programming that Kyle heads up, and this hobby can and is changing lives, and we would love to steward your dollars and to continue doing really great and impactful work. So the URL is at the bottom, modelaircraft.org/donate, and there are different options for you to designate your gift. We have about 3 weeks left in the year. For tax purposes or for any kind of year-end contribution that you would normally make, we encourage you to give to the foundation and support groups like the Cards. Awesome.
Thank you for the opportunity to share our experience.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Thank you both for joining us. Thank you, Chad, Austin, Kyle, for joining us. I'd also like to thank Matt Reddick, who produced this live stream. And if you have any questions or would like to speak with me or or Austin from the foundation, I encourage you to reach out, and I'd love to talk with you more. So thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day and happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. Happy holidays to you.